Good morning, Emma.
Hello.
So today we have Emma Snipp, aka Snippy, who is a success and resilience coach based in Maidstone in Kent. She specialises in working with professionals in the property and construction industries, following a 15-year career as a chartered surveyor in the City of London and in the West End, asset managing multi-billion-pound portfolios and large external teams. Through her coaching, she helps people to transform their doubts into strengths, setbacks into opportunities, and goals into reality. Her clients describe her as an English Mel Robbins who paddles her canoe, and as someone who can help you untangle your thoughts almost effortlessly. Snippy launched her coaching practice in 2020 following her studies with Animas, after COVID made her realise that she needed to make some serious changes in her life. Snippy, it's my pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you. Oh, that was a nice little introduction, wasn't it? When you said hello, Emma, I did have a minute there. I was like, who's that? Oh no,
Who's
you do. That's fine. We're okay.
So it is great to have you here, and we've had already a couple of really great conversations, and there's so much that we can get into. But I think I'd just love to start by asking you, how did you get into coaching?
So it was a bit of an accident. So I was a chartered surveyor in the city. So I was working in the West End and the City of London, spent 15 years between the two of those. And I was very much into everything wellbeing. So I was on the wellbeing board. I was helping with the managers. I was doing all the courses, and I was getting a really good reputation for it in the office with everyone but my director or my manager. He was not impressed at all. He was kind of like, "Look, this is not your job. Your job is to add value in bricks and mortar. Let's slow it down a little bit." And I just realised that I liked the people. I was into the people more than property. Because I'd fallen into property by accident anyway. I was going to be a teacher, and that was a whole other story. And I remember saying to one of the people on my team, I was like, I need a change. I need to work with people, blah, blah, blah. I've had coaching myself, but kind of more career corporate coaching, which I'd enjoyed. But it's not like how I know coaching now. But it'd given me a kind of an idea. And I was saying to this person, something like that would be great. And she said to me, "Oh, the person that had your job before, they've gone to work and actually did work at the time at Animas, this place called Animas. He does this thing called coaching. I reckon you'll love it. Go and have a chat with him." So I went and met up with a coach that was an ex-surveyor, and I was like, "I can't do this anymore. I hate it." And he was like, "Oh, this is how coaching works," and that was it. I was sold. And it just went from there, really. And he didn't plug Animas, just to make sure as well, so that everything's above board. He was like, "There are other ways of doing this, but this is how I've done it." And I came to one of your trial days, and it was in a hotel just before COVID hit. So I did my Animas studies during COVID online, but I went to a hotel, and I remember walking in and being greeted by someone on the podium, and who said, like, "This is where you pick out, blah, blah." And I walked in, and I remember texting my friends, just like, "I found my people. Oh my God, I found my people. I found my people. I know what I want to do. This is it. This is everything." And I just stood in that room, and it was buzzing, and everyone was going straight into the deep questions, and everyone was interested in everybody else. And there was so much love and care. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is me. I can do this." And that was it. I was hooked. And it's gone from there, really. And I just had this moment where I was like, I will do this. This will work well. And then COVID happened, and it went from a string to my bow to actually, this is life. Sacking the job, go for it. And now I'm here talking to you 4 or 5 years later. So yeah.
Wow, that's one heck of a journey, and I can absolutely relate to it. A similar journey myself, coming from IT and realizing, it's actually the people that I love and get so much from, and that's the sort of satisfaction, less so the technical bits of the job itself. But
I'm not a spreadsheet person. You wouldn't know it to look at me, I know, but it turns out I'm not a spreadsheet person. Who knew? Who knew indeed? But
you elaborate on your love of spreadsheets through your blog on your website. I was having a read of that earlier. There's some really funny articles on there.
Yeah. My inner child has got an issue with spreadsheets, not me. It's her fault.
But I'm really inquisitive. When you said, I walked into that room and I was like, oh my goodness, I've found my people.
Mm.
Can you tell me more about that? And how did you know that you found your people? Who are your people?
So I've gone through my life always feeling a little bit like an outsider. I wasn't this gobby in school. I got this gobby in college. In primary school and secondary school, I was really shy and I was bullied really badly. And so I started college and I was like, right, I'm going to be gobby and make up for it. And then it turned out actually that was my personality and that came through. But I've always felt a little bit on the outside of everything. I knew I was a career person. I met my ex-husband at 16. I was with him for 15 years. That was always a kind of tense relationship. My friendships were a bit tense. I left home when I was 15 and moved in with my grandparents. So I didn't finish school because I had an accident. So everything was always, I did my GCSEs at a hospital school in 3 months. So everything was always a bit odd, a bit strange. I never felt quite in the middle of anything. And I knew I craved that, but I also just took it for granted that this is how life works. This is how relationships work. They are a bit tense. They are a bit awkward, people are a bit strange and I'm a bit strange and all this sort of thing. And then I had this opportunity to get into property, started as a job on a reception desk, went from there, was there, put me through a master's degree for a chartership, etc., etc. And I was like, oh, this is great. I need a career. I want a career. I'm career orientated. But I never quite fit in with them either. And I had never really realised how much of an issue that was for me until I walked into that room and all of a sudden there were all of these people and almost all of them had been through something significant that made them want to support and help others. So generally speaking, my kind of very sweeping assumption is if you go through something big in life or life has not necessarily been easy, you go one of two ways. It brings you down or you go, I'm going to make sure it doesn't bring other people down. And you might go through both of those, go through one to come out the other. But generally speaking, those are your options. And I just felt like I was in a room full of people that had had huge experiences that just wanted to help, but also wanted to connect. Like coaches and anybody in kind of like this service-based career mode just want to connect and support on a real kind of fundamental, deep level. And I was suddenly in a room full of people where I wasn't a bit geeky for wanting to get down and dirty in conversation and want to know what you actually mean. I was with people where if you said, how are you? They didn't just go, yeah, fine. And I was like, oh my God, they've got an answer. It was just brilliant. And there was just this buzz in the room of wanting to know more. And even the people that kind of came and went, oh, this is not for me. The fact that they were interested in the first place meant that there was something about them where they were intrigued about knowing more, knowing deeper, understanding psychology, understanding how people tick, how people work, and just, wanting to get to know people on a deeper level. I was like, bloody hell, I don't feel like an outsider anymore. Or if I do, we're a load of outsiders together. And how brilliant is that?
I love that analogy.
That was a very long answer to that question. Hope that's okay.
No, definitely. The more the merrier. I get what you mean. I bet. So I'm hearing that there wasn't much small talk going on in that room.
Not for long, if there was. Yes.
I resonate with what you're saying. I was listening to a podcast recently talking about you go through something really deep, something really traumatic, a great struggle in life of some sort, and you can either become a victim or a victor. And often the very thing that we think disqualifies us from helping people actually is the thing that qualifies us, because nobody's better placed to help the person they used to be. So a shout out to that. And I'm so glad that you became the victor and were so empowered by sort of your struggles and your challenges in your career. And I know that that's how you've gone on to specialize in working with people with the same sort of a similar background as you. Can you tell us more about your coaching niche?
Yeah, so I work with people in property and construction. That seemed an obvious step for me because that's where my network is to begin with. And to add to that, I did also spend a couple of years absolutely refusing to niche. I'm not going to niche. My niche would be not niching. I hate niching. Niching is evil. I don't like it. until I realised one day that I was kind of basically, I was like trying to go fishing with a pack of Rolos. I was just not catching anything. So they made a lot of sense from a marketing perspective, but also from a personal perspective. There are a lot of things that actually probably hit most industries. When someone's talking about it from their point of view and you're having the same experience, you can connect so much easier. And that tends to be in property, especially when I first started, everybody was privately educated. I was the only person that was doing any form of asset management who had gone to a comprehensive school. And even then, I'd gone to a comprehensive school in South East London. So I wasn't even like top tier normal schools. I was like this. So there is a real thing. Everyone's bow, pout, sal, which is horrendous, awful thing to say, but I have just said it. So if there was anything about you that was slightly different, you felt like an outsider. Plus, property, a lot of people are related or are friends. So, everyone's someone's granddad, uncle, aunt, blah, blah, blah. When I first qualified, 13% of members of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors were women, 13. I think that's gone up now to like 18 or 20 or something, but it's still very, very low. So I was working class. I was a woman. I was white. I had that in my corner. But other than that, I was like, just felt like a complete outsider. And it took me quite a long time to realise that worked in my favour because it made me stood out and it made people remember me. I had a name like Snipp as well, so I was always snippy. And I just remember having a chat with one of the other surveyors, and he was like, "Snippy, what's your problem? Like, it's great. You stand out. You're different. I will remember you. People know you. People remember you, because you've got a South East London accent, or because." You are the only woman in the room, or because, you've got these different experiences, these different interests. And as soon as I started coaching and speaking about these things on social media, I found so many people come out the woodwork. And some of those were privately educated white men, but there was something in their experience where they're like, I don't fit in because of this. I don't fit in because of that. So there's this general, all of a sudden I realised it was kind of evidence bias. It was a collection of evidence to suggest that everyone's the same and I'm the one that's different. No, that's not the case. A lot of us feel like that. And it suddenly became very apparent to me that I wasn't just working with this very small niche of people, which might be, say, working class women in property, but most people in the industry, because the industry breeds this idea that there's me and them, and it can be really debilitating. And that was a nice thing to realise. And I've shared that with quite a few clients. And a few clients have had a real kind of realisation around that themselves. And some of them have been like female managers in construction and the only woman on site and stuff like that. But others have been, demographically the same as everybody else in the room, but they've had a major life experience that makes them feel like an outsider in themselves. And that reflects on their confidence and that reflects on their resilience. And working with me, we've realised, what confirmation bias is, how we collect all this evidence to make us think that it's us and me, and that's not the case. So my experience in property is feeling like an outsider has really helped me help others realise that there isn't really any such thing as outsider. We're all unique in our own way, and that's the beauty of it. It's one of those things we all know, we all knock around. The only version of me is me and all that. We all say these things, everybody does from every walk of life, but it's that moment where you really realise it, where you really feel it, and you feel the value in yourself for your uniqueness. And suddenly it doesn't matter if you look different, sound different. I had a director say to me when I started doing my APC, which is the course you have to do to become chartered. He said to me I would never get anywhere because I was too common. He actually said that to me. And I was in my early 20s and I went away and I really cried. And then I had a chat with someone else about it. And then I came back to work. And then every time I was around him, I was even more common than ever before, just to prove to him. Like I went proper like Mary Poppins level American version mock me just to make my point. But it's been a wonderful thing to share because people in my old industry of property and construction see what you've led. They know that you understand the specifics of the industry, the particular burdens and pressures that come with that industry socially as well as kind of industrially. And that helps them connect with you. But a lot of this is stuff that most people feel in most areas of life.
So it's the feeling like an outsider and feeling like the odd one out, like you don't fit the mold.
Yeah, in an industry which on paper looks like everybody is exactly the same.
Right, I see. What are some of the other challenges that you find, the themes that you find with your clients, and what are some of the solutions they found, the ways that of coping and facing and overcoming those challenges and obstacles?
So the kind of imposter syndrome area, which is a term I really dislike, and I think a lot of people do, but it's a term a lot of us understand. The imposter syndrome element is a big one. And I tend to find that with people I work with that are a little bit higher up the career ladder, they tend to be kind of directors and above. And I think it's because a lot of people have this understanding that they're making it up, or they're waiting to be called out, or they don't really know what's going on. And they think that that's a flaw on them. I've got clients who come to me who are in really senior positions to say, I don't know who to talk to. I feel like it's all going to fall apart. And every time I try to talk to my partner or my friends or anyone at work, they'll say, well, you're smashing it. What are you whinging about? But I feel like someone's going to knock on the door at some point and go, this is not right. You shouldn't be here. Or they see the grads coming through and they've got all of these new bright ideas and everything's shifting substantially in the industry in terms of things like sustainability and the economics and all of that, and there's some, like, going into boring detail on like leasings and lettings. There's a lot of changes in terms of requirements that are coming through that means the old guard are feeling a bit wobbly, and the grads are coming through with all of these new shiny ideas, and it's making them go, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't belong here. How am I supposed to maintain this authority? So I tend to work with people a lot in kind of appreciating that imposter syndrome and that voice is probably because you care. Because, if you don't care about something, nothing's going to tell you it doesn't. You're not going to worry if you're bad at something you don't care about. Like I can't knit. It's not going to bother me that someone might point and go, "Hey, you're crap at knitting." I know, So there is that understanding that it comes from a place of love. It's because you want to succeed, and then having kind of short-term wins and then the long-term kind of rewiring to get yourself beyond that, so that you feel empowered and that you're okay with not knowing things, but also shifting leadership styles so that we kind of come away from this draconian head of the pack, you do things my way sort of attitude, and appreciating the importance of listening to everybody, kind of like in Nancy Klein's style of communication. Everyone in the room's got something to bring. Listen to the voices you don't ever listen to because they might not have the skills to implement, but they've probably got some excellent ideas that you've got skills to implement. And just kind of understanding that all business is a we effort. If there's more than one of you, it's a we effort. Even when there's not, I work on my own, but then I have people like you I speak to. So it's a we effort, and listening to everybody else and embracing the different skills around you doesn't make you a weak leader. Showing vulnerability doesn't make you a weak leader. So it's all of that sort of stuff. There's a lot around the feeling like the outside will work. So the confirmation bias about being the only woman, and then therefore everyone's mocking you or looking down on you and that sort of thing. And and also when there are different personalities, how to work with those. So it tends to be, it's quite holistic, but it tends to be the in-person working on you, who you are, getting you the confidence, getting you the resilience, getting you the measures of success and the metrics, so you understand what you need for you to be happy, and then kind of how that ripples out into your career so that you can do good things and feel like when you go home, you're in a good place. And then there are the kind of new stuff that's come around since COVID, which is work-life balance, working from home, making sure you see people enough, all of a sudden realising you want the London job without commuting to London, etc., etc. So there's some of those kind of figuring out what, again, it's success really, but figuring out what you want your life to look like. Is it realistic? Can it be achieved? And if it can, how do we do it?
Wow. Great answer, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Not bad off the top of my head, eh?
It really, wow. I've never heard the phrase business is a we effort before. And I really like that phrase. It conjures up an image of a group of people working together versus people kind of working like isolated. And I always say, you know, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked what you said about imposter syndrome. I had a bit of a paradigm shift not too long ago when I heard on a podcast that imposter syndrome is actually a characteristic of many of the greatest leaders, because it indicates not only how much they care, but also that they hold themselves to a really high standard and, you know, believe that they can always do better. And that can come across it can land internally in like an imposter syndrome kind of, and I'm not good enough, you know, I'm out of my depth, or I don't deserve this position type internal monologue. And I've been there many a time with it. And whilst knowing that, having that knowledge doesn't make it go away, it just helps frame it almost just in it's not only me, and a problem shared is a problem halved. If there's other people sort of struggling with it, facing with it, you know, battling with it as well, then there's some comfort in that.
Yeah. I often, when I'm working with clients, I encourage them not to aim to get rid of that critic, that voice. If you're aiming to get rid of it, you're going to be chasing your tail for a long, long time, because it's an intrinsic part of who you are. You know, it's the way the brain works fundamentally, but also, you know, they're learned behaviours from your childhood. They're deeply ingrained. That voice is not going anywhere. So we're not looking to get rid of it. We're not looking to chuck it out or burn it. Because it will come back, you know, looking like a zombie and clawing at us. What we need to do is understand what it's trying to say, without sounding too cheesy and coachy. Befriend it and say, I hear what you're saying. I love you for that. Great, nice one, cheers. Don't need to listen right now, because it's not really helping me. You know, I'm not somebody kind of coming out of the cave who's about to be eaten by a tiger. I'm somebody who leads a team of 6 and have done for 10 years, and I know exactly what I'm doing. But cheers for loving me, I get it. So that imposter syndrome, a lot of it is about understanding where that voice comes from, understanding why it's telling you what it's telling you, what it's protecting you from, what it's trying to lovingly keep you safe from, and then, you know, lovingly in return telling it where to go. You know, like if you've got a brother or a sister and you're used to telling them where to go, you love them and you can get away with being really horrible to them. It's the same. You know, it's that same relationship. Yeah, whatever, nice one, great. I'll buy you a bag of chips later. Just back off. That's the kind of attitude we're going for. And I just think it's healthier to appreciate that it's going to keep trying to come back. Because if you think you can kick it out the door and it won't return, you'll feel devastated when it does. It's healthier to understand its purpose and then put less value on its voice.
Thanks for sharing that, Snippy. I recently read a book called The Happiness Trap, during the pandemic, actually, and so not that recently. That spoke a lot about how we tend to trip ourselves up when we try and suppress any negative feelings and just think positive all the time. Whereas I'm a Star Trek fan, and in my terms, what I took away from the book was, instead of trying to suppress it and, you know, box it up and get rid of it, kind of open a channel with it, open a channel with those feelings and lean into it and hold a space for it, and sort of try and have a, you know, how does this benefit me? What's this trying to, you know, what's this fear trying to save me from?
Yeah.
And, you know, try and open up that dialogue, so, rather than just trying to ignore it, because the more you try and push something down, the harder it fights back, a bit like a Chinese finger trap. So, you know, that's the way I think of it. And
yeah, it's funny. So much of my content on LinkedIn, other social media platforms are available, is around not aiming for happiness, but aiming for contentment. Because I always argue that you can be, I'm trying really hard not to swear, you can be having a really bad day. You know, you break down on the way to work, you forget your lunch, and you know the chicken's gone off in the fridge, and your other half has just texted you that they're going to the pub for 3 days with their mates, and it can be a really bad day, and you can just be like, this is awful, and your happiness is gone. Like, your happiness is gone. You're sitting in the rain waiting for the AA, and you're going to be there forever. But you can still be content with life. So if you're only looking for happiness, it's so fickle, it's so fragile. You're going for contentment. Life can be going up and down around you, but you can keep this kind of level of, it will pick back up because generally things are fairly good. Or this is great right now, I'm enjoying this. And you can just keep that hum along, which is contentment with what you've got, if you go for happiness, you know, it's peaks and troughs, highs and lows, and there will be crashes. And it's very hard to be happy when your boss has just landed a 40-page report on your desk that you need to read the next hour and a half, and it's already 7 p.m. So there's that kind of, happiness trap. I like that.
Thanks, Snippy. I really want to ask you, you know, from a personal perspective, if I came to you as a client and said, Snippy, I go from being ecstatically happy to the next day being crushingly unhappy, and it's driving me up the wall, and I really want to have or gain this sense of contentment that you talk about in all your content, that's really attractive to me. How do I get from being like this to sort of more of like that, that's more sustainable and conducive with like a well-lived life?
Well, beyond the kind of ethical checking to make sure there's no mental health things going on there, because that sounds very extreme. If it's in the realm of what we would do, to summarise quickly, we would look to understand what contentment meant to you, what success meant to you, what joy meant to you, and what their antithesis all meant, and where you're hitting those and where you're not. Because the likelihood is if you're going up and then down and then up and then down, you're not really sure what it is you want. So you're chasing dopamine hits that are hitting you hard and fast and falling away. And the problem with hitting the big ones, you have these, I was told, and someone may want to fact check this, but I was told that a dopamine hit feels the same. As long as you see it as a success, it feels the same if it's something small or if it's, say, winning a gold medal at the Olympics. One can take you 8 or 9 years to achieve. You have your dopamine hit, it falls away. One you might achieve by 11 a.m. because it's something you see as important and successful. If you have yourself in bite-sized chunks and understand success and have yourself wins that are regularly achievable, you can keep yourself coming along at a level where you're often like, this is great. I'm grateful for the things that are great. I am happy with what's around me. This isn't good. But is it something I want to change, or is it something that I'm happy to live with? You know, what is the oh my God, what's the word? It's completely gone. Things with say. Now it's gone. Something that you're allowed, you don't mind letting slip. It'll come to me. So it's about understanding what it is you want to achieve generally. And then within that, what are the highs and lows? What are you willing to take? What do you enjoy? What are you not? And then kind of just basically shifting yourself around. But it's looking at things holistically. So the wheel of life is a really good one for that. I quite often get new clients to go around the wheel of life. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's broken down into different areas. And sometimes I get my clients to come up with their own areas as well. And they give you a rating of 1 to 10 in terms of satisfaction. So not the satisfaction is important. So say, for example, you've just moved into a new house and the whole place is an absolute dump and needs to be rewired and replastered, but you've just moved into this house and you're really excited about what you can do with it. Your satisfaction might be high, whereas actually the house is a bit of a shithole, so that would be low. So if I asked you on that, you say, oh, I'm really satisfied because I can see the journey I'm on. So satisfied is what's important there. And sometimes you can see some really obvious patterns crop up. So I'm really satisfied at work. I'm leading this team. Everything's going great. I've got good ground knowledge. I'm really respected. I feel like I've got a good sense of authority. I trust that my career is going the right way. I'm getting paid a decent amount of money. I enjoy getting up on a Monday, blah, 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 blah. But then I come home and my other half talks to me like I don't know how to tie my shoelaces. And I feel like I can't do anything here without being disrespected. And it's starting to make me feel small and insignificant. And all of a sudden, I can't lead my team that well because my confidence is low because it's being impacted by somewhere else. So the Wheel of Life is very good at fishing out areas where you might need to analyse and understand what contentment looks like for you and up it and meet that. You know, how do I get to a 10? No, I can get to a 10, but what would a 10 look like? Those are the sort of questions you're asking yourself. And just to plug in a little extra one as well, there are the 7 C's of resilience, which I haven't got written down in front of me and I can't remember. The well worth for Google, and they just give you a good idea of these, similarly to the Wheel of Life, these different areas where you're looking to have contentment within them. So it is things like confidence, connection, competence, and feeling like if you don't know something, you can learn it. if you've seen any real holes in any of these areas, it can kind of bleed out to other areas of your life. So you're looking to iron out all of these and find the joy and the love and the gratitude within there, so you can hum along at a decent level. And then hopefully your waves of up and down, if you're that way inclined, will probably continue, but they will continue along a higher, whatever that word is, ranking, linear, doodah line. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Did that make any sense? Because that felt like come out as a bit of a ramble.
No, that made total sense. There's so much in there that I could relate to and dive into. And also conscious of time, I think I might switch gears and ask you just a little bit more about how you sort of just made the decision to train with Animas, and what your experience was. As you were training through the pandemic, one of our first remote cohorts, and how that went for you.
Yeah, so as I said, I went to the away day in person, and I was hell-bent on training. At this point, I had no intention of leaving my career. It was like a set myself up, sort of string to my bow situation. Hopefully one day be able to do this full time sort of situation. And then COVID hit, and I put off signing up. Like everyone else, I was like, this will pass in 5 minutes. And my work as well got really intense during COVID. So I was working from home, but I was working really hard. I wasn't furloughed or anything. I know that was really difficult for some people, but I was also intensely jealous of a lot of them. And I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. And then I had a chat with someone at Animas. To be fair, they weren't the sign-up people, but they weren't putting a stupid amount of pressure on. We were just chatting about it because I'd met her again, someone I'd met at this away day and I really liked and got on well with. And we were saying about the future of coaching. And I said, well, actually, in real terms, coaching online would be great, because that meant that I wouldn't only have to coach locally. At the time I was living in London. Wouldn't only have to coach locally. I wouldn't have to hire an office and all of that sort of thing. I could do it from home. And also, I'm bored. I'm stuck at home during COVID on the weekends. I was doing it on the weekends. So I was like, oh, sod it, let's give it a go. So I did. And it was the best decision I made, because actually, in real terms, and this shocks a lot of the old guard, I have still never coached anyone in person properly. I've never sat down and I've worked with people on things. I've gone into companies and done facilitation, and I've done talks, and I've had kind of coachy, mentory chats with people. But in terms of having a client booked in to see me regularly over a period of so many weeks or months, I have never had one booked in face to face. So I'm so pleased that I just went for that, because it opened up this entire world. I remember one of my first clients, in the early days where you just kind of advertise yourself on free coaching websites and stuff just to get your experience up. I worked with a Russian nun sister who was living in Israel at the time. And I was like, this is just the most amazing thing ever. Like, ever. Like, how am I talking to these people? So, it was the best thing I did. And I'm really pleased. I missed the buzz of the room, and I think I possibly wouldn't have got quite so excited about doing the course and changing tact if I hadn't gone to the hotel day. I don't know that I would have got that buzz over a screen quite so much. But in terms of the learnings, how to coach over Zoom, I think it's a skill in itself.
I think your answer there, I really liked. It was really balanced, because like you say, there are benefits and drawbacks to both. And I also would, I echo your words that training remotely does equip you really well to deliver coaching remotely, which means that you're not limited by geographical or time factors. Because even, coaching someone can take time to agree where to meet, then go to meet them. You find that where you've agreed to meet maybe is closed, or you can't park. It takes time. It takes a lot more effort than just agreeing a time to have a remote call.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are so many benefits to training and coaching and meeting face-to-face in person. There's so many elements to coaching that are about more than just what's being said. picking up on body language and what's not being said,
Absolutely.
etc. I'm curious as to how you handle the challenges with working remotely. I know I have a few ways, such as walking and talking, I find works really well for me. I'm wondering what works well for you to keep people engaged and make it feel less like just another Zoom call, because we'd all had enough of them during the pandemic.
You're completely underestimating how amazing and witty I am over Zoom. I don't have any.
Thank you.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, it works well for me as well, because I've managed to build an entirely different life because of coaching. So when I first started coaching, I was working in the city. Since then, and since COVID, I have met and married someone else. I've got an 18-month-old. I only work a couple of days a week and evenings once he's in bed. So I'm basically always around as his mum, and so coaching personally for me has offered a real lifeline to go from like a very, again, in this kind of contentment kind of conversation piece. I was very unhappy and discontented, and now I have moments where I'm like, oh, I don't want to stare at Zoom anymore. I'd rather go person or something or whatever. But my overall contentment, because I can have this whole lifestyle whilst doing a career that I'm proud of, works really well for me. I do, my clients, I do give them my phone number. So we have, I generally work with them once a fortnight for 90 minutes. But they also have access to me by WhatsApp. So I get a lot of voice notes and WhatsApps within, obviously, boundaries. Yeah, I do a lot of that, and I do tend to go for walks and listen to poems and send those. I find that quite helpful. I do try and do quite a bit of networking, bits and pieces, in person where possible, as well as online. So a lot of it's just keeping up that. I miss being in an office. Don't miss office work, but I miss being in an office. So any way I can kind of recreate that, should we pop out for coffee and talk about this sort of lifestyle, I will recreate in my coaching practice.
Well, Snippy, we are birds of a feather. We are birds of a feather. I can entirely relate to everything you say, down to the style of my coaching. I do exactly the same thing over the same duration, and yeah, it does remain very challenging. And I also echo you. I totally miss, the office environment, but not necessarily the office politics. So it swings and roundabouts. But I'm glad that you've found a balance that works for you, as that's what matters the most.
Absolutely.
So if someone has listened and been really inspired and would love to know more and connect with you, and I'm conscious that you've got some exciting projects of your own going on at the moment. Where can we find you, and what would you recommend someone do?
The best place to come find me is LinkedIn. Absolutely. And because I have got a fairly unique name, Snipp, SNIPP, I'm quite easy to find on there. So if you search me, I come up pretty high to the top. You don't have to go through pages and pages. I do have a website, emmasnipp.co.uk, which you can pop by if you want to. I do have blog pieces on there, but most of my content, I do these things called Emma Snippets once a week as well, where I just ramble at my phone camera for 3 minutes on a subject. They're all uploaded to LinkedIn. So that's probably the best place to find me. If you want to email me, you can. That's inquiries@emmasnipp.co.uk. I am on Facebook and Instagram, but they tend to be more spam with my toddler, so probably not so interesting for people. So LinkedIn is the best place to go.
Thank you. And sort of to round off our fabulous conversation, if there's someone listening and perhaps just on the edge of signing up to taking a course with Animas and is just not quite sure, is there any words of advice or wisdom that you would share with them?
Well, that's a good one. I think if you've got the financial and the time capacity to do something you're intrigued by, I never think it hurts to give it a go anyway. What's the worst that happen? You do the course, you're not fussed, you don't take it any further. But do talk to people, do get an understanding of what it really means. So a lot of people have got ideas of what coaching is because they hate what they do at the moment and they just think it's kind of really easy way out. So have a chat with people, see if you can get an idea of what you think coaching would look like for you and if it's something you can see yourself really doing. Anyone in this industry will talk to you. Everybody's bloody lovely. Some of them are weird, but they're all lovely. So just have a chat around. But I do think that if there's something if there's something in life that you're interested in and you have the capacity and the means to give it a go, I think just go. It's my view. You don't have to give up anything to try something new. But yeah, by all means, have a chat with people. Come and have a chat with me. See what you think. Chat it through. But yeah, I think it's great. But I wouldn't I?
Thanks for sharing, Snippy. I'm glad you think it's great. I do too. I think the best investment is an investment in yourself, and it can't hurt to add another string to your bow, even if you don't end up directly using it. It can. Coaching works in weird and wonderful ways and can benefit your life in immeasurable, unexpected ways.
Mostly, it just teaches you some really decent communication skills. Yeah. And there is no one on the planet that would benefit from increased communication skills.
My feelings exactly. I'd just like to say thank you so much for your time today. It's been fabulous to meet you again, and it'd be lovely to get you back on the channel again in the future.
Thank you for having me.